Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Pieter Paul van Oerle. I'll be your host for today's webinar about the energy transition that we are co-organizing between Unlimited and Supercharge. Thank you for taking the time in these busy weeks to explore the different strategies of how to bring innovation and digitization to enable and accelerate the energy transition. I'm super excited about today's session because we have amazing speakers, amazing panelists that will share their experiences with us, with you, to hopefully inspire you and give you some food for thought on how to further accelerate that energy transition together. We have over 200 people who signed up for this session today, just underpinning like how important this topic is and how urgent it is to collaborate together and to learn from each other. So I'm super excited. So many are showing up. I see still new people flowing into the room, into the digital room. So we'll just get started. If you can please share the first few slides, we'll soon make it to the opening panel. So indeed, the organizing parties are by all means Supercharge, really taking a large role in organizing this webinar together. And they are a super specialist in delivering new digital solutions to enable many transitions, including the energy transition. And we are Unlimited. I work at Unlimited. I'm one of the partners at Unlimited. And we are more of a consultancy player, really helping shape and deliver the big transitions. And we work really well together in some of our clients and some of the big transitions because it's the giving direction and doing the actual digital implementations that we do together. And today, if you look at the next slides, we'll be having a really clear and clear-cut agenda, two panel discussions that really should get the majority of the time. So I'll keep it short in this intro. We'll first have a panel discussion where innovation leaders from TenneT, Port of Rotterdam, and Unica will be sharing their strategies and their ways of innovating to help accelerate that energy transition. And afterwards, we have a conversation more between Niels Tijpel of BritNet and Daniel Homoki Farkas of Supercharge about a very significant digital project that they delivered recently together. And if we look at the next slides, you'll see there's always a giveaway in a webinar we organize. And we were thinking, like, if people are really active, if people are really engaged, if they want to weigh into this webinar, make sure you're active, take part in the polls, submit a question through to the Q&A. And if you're active, we'll do a ballot at the end and we'll give away a free workshop on how to use AI to further accelerate the energy transition. So that's just a nice giveaway for the most active participants. So we'll take it to the next slide, actually, and enter the first panel. And the first panel will be, I just already mentioned the organization names, but I'm also happy to introduce Hans Stegeman, the head of grid innovation at TenneT, Saskia Muro, the director of customer digital at Port of Rotterdam, and Anne Hudepol, who leads the innovation center at Unica. And they will all give their perspectives from their different roles in this ecosystem, where TenneT, for those who don't know, is the national grid operator, so really responsible for that national grid and the transition that we all need to make. Saskia Muro in the Port of Rotterdam, having to orchestrate that big transition in the biggest industrial cluster of Western Europe, and Anne Hudepol as an enabler, where Unica builds technical solutions in the built industry, in installation, in energy, and in smart buildings, among others. So they all give their different perspectives. So without further ado, I would love to propose to Han, maybe first share some of your experiences and your point of view on how you guys are directing this transition.
Yes, thank you, Peter Paul. I'm at Tenet. I'm heading a grid innovation team, and we are on a mission to connect more customers faster and to gain extra grid capacity. One of our biggest challenge nowadays is the connection queue and also grid congestion. And it's inevitable. The electrification of everything will continue. And we expect for electricity in the energy mix that we need to double or to triple the capacity. Building new assets will sometimes take decades or years. So we are also looking in utilizing the grid smarter. And I'm heading this value stream. So within this mission to connect more customers and gain more capacity, we have 3 value streams. Understand the customer better, build faster, and utilize smarter. And especially in this utilize smarter, there are a lot of new technologies that we are looking for and testing in the next years, because our mission is that we are on level at 2028. We are working together with other TSOs and DSOs. So what we do together is that we have, for innovation, that we have an horizon scanning framework that we share with each other. With also the technology readiness levels. So there are quite some opportunities, but sometimes not with the right maturity. And we have this grid enhancing technologies that we start now. One of the things we learned last weeks is that we, together with Unlimited, we drafted a innovation scouting playbook. Was really successful because the thing with innovation is that it's hard to tender innovation because you don't know what you don't know. And so you can't specify something you don't know. And it was really what we gained from this innovation scouting challenge that we also got now, and we start now with 3 POCs, also with things we didn't expect that were already possible. And because in our sector, reliability is the key objective. Speed and innovation is quite new, but we are testing now these new ways of making that happen. And so far, also the urgency of the energy transition really helps us to get there. Maybe the last thing in our strategy is that all the technology is already there. But it's also the people that make it happen. So we also pay a lot of attention to not only in the Tenet organization, but also outside to give that Beconics perspective of a new, very exciting, but dynamic and interactive energy system.
Yeah, that's a great insight, Han. I'll get back to that open innovation way of working in a bit after we have the first introductions from Saskia and Anne as well. Saskia, can you maybe add your perspective from the Port of Rotterdam and how you're guiding that transition?
Sure, happy to do so. And Han, I do recognize the fact that innovation is hard to tender. So maybe more about that later. So Saskia Moreau, I lead digital for the Port of Rotterdam for 2 ecosystems, the logistics side, we won't really talk about that, and the industrial cluster. Peter Paul already said to you, one of the largest or the largest industrial cluster in Western Europe. Any view on how many companies are in the industrial cluster in Port of Rotterdam? I know you cannot answer, but I did want to give you some time to think about it. It's 120 different companies, and they range from simple cold stores to huge refineries and chemical plants. And the task that we have with this industrial cluster is to guide them through the energy transition so we have a sustainable energy for the future, to create available energy, read net congestion. If we don't have electricity, we cannot make that energy transition. But also multi-utility, so heat, steam, those type of utilities, and molecules, hydrogen in the future. And the last point that we need is competitive pricing, because you can imagine in the current setting of the sort of the make industry for Europe, competitive pricing is under huge pressure, especially in NL. And digital will contribute for us in two different ways. The first one is sort of creating insights. We're creating a virtual energy system that will give us insight in decisions we need to make, like where do we land wind, where do we need batteries for storage, those type of things. And the second piece is we're looking for flex solutions. And that basically means that we want to create flex in the system. And for example, for people like Han, because we think that energy is available, but perhaps not at all hours of the day. And how can we spread that better? So we're working, for example, in the Botlek, where we have 6 different companies, chemical plants, refineries. We model them, and we start to see when can they give or take extra energy depending on the demand. Maybe more about that later.
Super exciting stuff indeed, Saskia, and incredibly complex to gather indeed the information from all of those 130 companies and their current and future demands of energy. That makes it so challenging, right? And how they want to transition that. So definitely more about that in a little bit. Anne, from the enabler perspective, maybe, if you will.
Yes, well, thank you. Happy to tell a bit more about how we work on the energy transition within Unica. It's quite a bit of a journey last year, because we started with just the topic of what do we want to innovate on within the energy transition. So we started very broadly with a broad exploration process, where we work together with a partner called The Next Web, which recently joined Unlimited. And what they do is they scout and know all the latest technological developments based on the number of companies and funding received. And based on this extensive research, we identified 10 categories for us. And we chose 3 of them with the board of directors, which were energy storage and management, energy solutions, and smart installations. And with these 3 directions, we continued in our company-wide innovation program, where we, in 3 months' time, we accelerated these ideas with 3 teams. And that was really a game changer for us, because we are quite a technical company, and we think from technique, but also want to do it like maybe sometimes 100% perfect. And this program enforced us to really also take the client perspective, and also make the idea tangible in a prototype. So not already 100% perfect, but start there validating and then continue. And after these 3 months, we had 3 pitches, and again we engaged with our board and our and people within the company and asked them which idea we should bring further. And this is the concept called Unipower, which we are currently working on. And this is really tapping into the grid congestion. So what we are focusing on SME business parks, and we want to help them with a central asset hub. So this is quite innovative, because it's not an energy hub and also not a closed system, but we want to create an asset hub. And companies can keep their own energy connection, but we want to see if we can create a separate grid for this asset hub. And as Unica, this is also for us existing role we can already play because we can install the assets, of course, but there's also a new role we can play is in facilitating this collective, this energy corporation as co-owners of this asset hub. So that's a bit where we are today, and especially looking into the feasibility of this solution, technically, but also legally. And hopefully next year we can pilot really on an SME business park. So that sense, it's nice that we have also a grid operator here. And maybe some people know, of the 200 people here, know maybe a business park that already experiences grid congestion. But yeah, to wrap it up, it was quite a journey. And for us, I think 3 things really helped us. First, this data-driven, broad exploration research based on technology and investment data. Secondly, the accelerator program. And I think thirdly, and which we are still doing, is really engaging with our C-level and also our experts, and also with other parties outside. And this is really important to get this buy-in also.
Great. Thanks for sharing those perspectives already, all 3 of you. And let's maybe try to get all panelists in the screen, if we can, from the technical perspective, and have a bit of a conversation about this topic. And basically, one thing that I hear in each of your stories is indeed, Saskia, you mentioned like procuring for innovation. It's difficult, right? Han mentioned opening up your minds and also the mind of the technical people to allow for more creative solutions, maybe than what you would spec if you have a lot of time and want to go in detail. And Anna, you also mentioned that part, right? Like exploring what's in the market, what could be potential business models, and pivoting quite quickly towards a solution that feels like a good fit for your business. Yeah, but let's maybe dig a bit deeper. And Saskia, you mentioned it's hard to procure for innovation, right? What do you experience there, and what are you doing to overcome those challenges?
Yeah, I think one piece that's difficult is that we have a tendency, sort of as a company, but also maybe as human beings, to analyze the problem and then to figure out what the solution could be. And what I believe in is that a lot of sort of that learning loop has happened already externally in startups. And most of the problems you experience, someone else has solved. So it's not a matter of you trying to understand it and solve it, but it's actually finding the right solution out there. I think Anna also said about the scouting. So that's one. I think the second piece is just more practical procurement hurdle, and especially as sort of semi-government, we are more prone to that than others. And I think last but not least, there's a whole space around who owns what when you co-develop. Because
Yeah.
often you end up not just piloting something, but co-developing. And there's the IP discussion, there's the data discussion, there's all these different things. So yeah, I think that makes it difficult.
Yeah, I can imagine. And maybe on the other end, right? Because Han is, of course, also a semi-public organization. But Anna, you don't have that problem of having to go through the European tendering rules and so on. Does it make it easier for you to engage with technology players, or do you have other challenges there?
Good question. I do think because this grid congestion we're talking about, it's a problem not only Unica can solve alone. So eventually we also are bound, or we need to cooperate well with all the rules and government, etc. involved. And engaging externally, I think that yeah, we can quite easily start piloting
Yeah, the challenge is also in the implementing and scale up of a POC. So this is what we, like Saskia said, there are a lot of startups that want to join, but you will always have the IP this discussion, because there is, and you already mentioned, Saskia, the data and digital. It's a prerequisite for, at least for our business, because electrons travel with the speed of light, so we can't send an email to send set points. So we need that information, and especially the data is really important. This is what we also in the innovation scouting playbook that we drafted together with Unlimited. So the thing with non-disclosure agreements, IPs, that you are really clear about that from the start of the project. Because a pilot, it's okay if you do that offline, but if you want to scale things, you don't want to have this vendor lock-in, but also, hey, that it's clear who's responsible for what.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one of our golden rules, right? Like procure first for the pilot, but with the potential of scaling in mind, and have clear conversations about it, but don't try to go to a detailed contract for that scaling phase yet, because we first have to explore if it's gonna work at all, right? And I think that's really something, a skill that you need to learn together, because it's a newer way of working. But you also have to take that assessment even before you start the pilot. Like, is this a company that is willing to engage with us and open to really collaborate? Definitely. So, and if you're looking at this energy transition, right, and the need for digital solutions to enable it, like, what's the most challenging part there? Because the landscape is so scattered, right? And for TenneT to create a national overview, or for Port of Rotterdam to create a full digital twin of the industrial area, it is a quite complex task. Like, who should be leading that effort? Where's that? Where do we find that solution? Do you have an opinion about that?
I think you asked two questions, right? The first was what is challenging, and the second, who leads it. And I think they're interconnected, because the most challenging piece is the collaboration, because companies, we have a system challenge, and that means that you need to solve that systemically. But often with systemic challenges, it's really hard, because not one person can carry all the cost or should get all the benefits. So how do you do the cost and benefit distribution of the developing solutions? So I think that to me is one of the biggest challenges, especially because a lot of the companies we work with are also competitors, or parties who have difficulty sharing certain data. And like the grid operators cannot share all the data, even though it would be very beneficial to others. So you need to work through all of that together.
Yeah, clear. Yeah. Han, did you want to comment to that as well?
Yeah, maybe to add to that, and there is quite some collaboration also within the industry, but we also need to set some kind of target picture. With Target Grid 2045, together with a lot of other sectors, we set the goal of, hey, how will the energy system look like? And there is enough room to maneuver in between that. But if it's not clear, and and it's also, but it's also hard to keep course, because hey, every day there is some other urgent topic, and sometimes we forget to have this target picture in mind. And that's how I see it. So think big, but small steps, but start today and not tomorrow.
And Han, do you find it easy to get that target picture? Because I find that to a certain extent you can put a North Star in, but the North Star is also changing a bit with the learning that you get.
Exactly. Yeah. So you need to be agile to and be aware of that. The North Star will not be, or the light on the hill will not be on the maybe on the same hill, but not at the same location. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think maybe new
And this is
solutions
why you
like
need. Oh, sorry. Yeah, this is why you need the fast feedback loops also within the industry that you learn from each other.
Yeah, I think and new solutions like, for instance, Unipower, right? But there's many other solution providers that will be introducing new solutions to the same problem that will change the dynamics in the market and maybe even change that backlog of high voltage requests that you have as Tenet, for instance. So that's all going to be interdependent for the next years to come, probably. Anna, how do you look at that?
Yeah, I think it's I don't like the technical part. I think everything is possible. That's always my assumption. But it's mostly also social innovation because indeed you need to work together. Who's in charge or who is in the lead? But maybe we are all in the lead, and that's it's a whole different kind of game you're playing. So I think the challenge I see also within our company that we can implement things and install things, but this is a whole different new role with new capabilities and new agreements.
Yep.
So I do see the challenge in that part. Yeah.
The social part, that's definitely a very, very valid point. We're almost already towards the end of this panel discussion, people. So because like time is going so fast, I want to take a question from say the audience. There was a few questions in the question and answer. I like the one of Stan Kamerling, and his question is: how do you handle the integration of new own innovations? Or from an innovation partner within legacy ecosystems, right? So I can imagine, especially like at Tenet, Han, you have a huge legacy system, and now you're running three pilots, three proof of concepts of new technologies. Are you already aware of how you're going to be integrating them in the legacy systems if they succeed?
Yes, and in the meantime, we are also replacing the legacy systems like the control room of the future. But it will really help us if we get this new information. So there are some guiding principles on security or interoperability. That's clear. But we are also learning from these new partners, and we always have the make, buy, or ally decision to make. Hey, what can we learn from startups? But also what we need to build ourselves, because also we need this first-hand knowledge. But yes, this is something that especially the digital spine that we are now building to share all the information we need to get to that new system. It's a challenge, but it helps if we have also these new parties where we can test things.
Right. I think that's it that we have for time for this panel. I already warned you it was going to be quite compact and short, but thank you so much, Han, Saskia, and Anne, for sharing your thoughts with this audience and exploring thoughts together. I definitely learned stuff again today from hearing you talk with each other. And we'll be following up on this panel also towards the audience. So thanks for joining in, and I think some of you are staying around for the Q&A at the end of this webinar. And Saskia, you have to run, right? But we'll catch up with you later. Thanks very much for this nice panel discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that already leads us to the second half of this webinar. And basically, before we start the second panel discussion, where Niels Dijpel and Daniel Homoki Vargas will talk about the big digital platform they built together for BritNet, we wanted to first do two quick polls with the audience today to just pick your brains and get your thoughts on two of the questions that we have. And we want to do that using Slido. And you can take the QR code or go to slido.com and use the number. And it would be great to hear from you guys to share like what are the most critical areas for your organization to innovate in over the next 12 months to accelerate the energy transition. We can use this also into the Q&A at the end of this webinar. So I'll give you a minute to go into Slido and share those first thoughts. And then once the technical team also, I see the first participant, second participant into the Slido typing in. So that is great. And then we have one more question to share with you before we head into the second panel discussion. The AI, the flexibility, those were already mentioned, unlocking flexibility. Operational technology integrations, AI grid capacity, smart energy management systems. Use of AI is winning. Energy integration. Thanks for sharing your ideas. Grid capacity, lack of funding. That's a different one. I'm curious, maybe you can also type in the chat in the question and answer if that's lack of funding internally or externally. On the other hand, there seems to be tens of billions of euros available now to do the whole grid transition. So I would say funding is available, but we need to be able to where to look for it. Flexibility, integrations, strategic investments. I see all that. Well, thanks for that. Feel free to keep typing away in this poll question. And then maybe to the technical team, I would like to already ask indeed for the second poll. And that's more multiple choice question, like which one do you think is the biggest barrier to accelerating your digital transformation? Does that have to do with the integration of legacy systems, regulatory challenges, cost and resource allocation in your organization, mindset, organizational, the people, the cultural aspect that Anna also mentioned, keeping pace with the technological advancements, limited access to tech talents, lack of insights into global best practices. This is, of course, what Han was also talking about, like what are the global solutions for your local challenges? And I just see the first people already commenting to this. You can also use the link in the chat to get directly into this. So far, 5 people have reacted. And I think regulatory mindset, cost allocation. Let's give it one more minute. Quite insightful to see. And so more and more people are saying the mindset and the organizational barriers could be one of the biggest challenges that we are facing, along with regulatory and cost parts. Great. Thanks for sharing those insights. I see people are still answering to this poll. I think you can keep commenting to this poll in the oncoming few minutes. But also mindful of time, I want to definitely make sure that I invite the next panel speakers into this webinar. That's the second panel indeed, where we have Niels Tijpel. He works with BritNet and is the commercial operations and planning manager, and Daniel, who's the head of the energy practice at Supercharge, and they will be having a conversation about the recent project they've done in digitizing at BritNet. So let's invite the two gentlemen into this conversation, please. Hi, Daniel.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
And Niels, thanks for joining.
Hello.
Thanks for taking the time to share your experiences with us today. And with you, it's somewhat different setting than the panel discussion we just had, right? It's you guys worked really closely together in recent times to deliver a new digital solution for BritNet. And yeah, maybe you just want to first give us some context and tell us about how this project came about and what was the objective of the project.
Yes, sure. Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, so basically the background of the project was that we had, due to historical reasons, but also due to European regulation that was put upon us to the time, our whole operational process divided over three different IT platforms. We had our long-term, and they had capacity allocation on one European platform. We had our intraday allocation on a 10-year-old legacy system, including the kind of outdated technology around it. And we had nominations for our customers, again, on a different platform. And basically, for our business to work, and not only for us, but also especially for our customers, all these processes needed to be running perfectly together across the three platforms. And basically, any breakdown in any of these chain components would basically lead to a failure of the whole process, more or less. And that was kind of the starting point. So we were facing the problem there that operational stability was not always possible to guarantee, given that you had three different platforms provided by different vendors with different support setups, different help desks, generally different technology stacks, very different layout, and different integration possibilities for our customers. And basically, that was the situation where we started off with. And after some years of operation and seeing the kind of challenges that we were facing, but also our market was facing, we decided that this is not the right way forward, and we needed to step away from these joint platforms and the kind of scattered approach. And therefore, we decided basically to join all these three platforms together into one own trading and allocation and nomination platform for BritNet, to provide our customers with a better trading experience. And the goal of the project was pretty much really lifting the business onto a new level in terms of reliability of its operation for the day-to-day business, a higher customer and user friendliness, and most important, also additional commercial flexibility in our offering, because we were also limited due to the kind of joint allocation platform set up in the way that what products we could offer and how quickly we could bring new products to the market or could respond to customer queries.
Great. Thanks for setting that scene and the goals of the project. Daniel, do you want to share a bit how you guys approached that, and how you worked with BritNet to get this resolved?
So obviously we won the RFP, for building this new allocation and nomination platform for BritNed. And I think one of the most important parts all the way from the get-go was establishing both with BritNed and internally that, well, due to a lack of better words, I would say we also have skin in the game, and not just from a financial and liability perspective, but also from a reputational perspective. Like at Supercharge, we have had previous experience within the energy sector, mostly with battery storage, network infrastructure, and EVs, but we have never really done anything on this scale, especially with something so critical to obviously UK infrastructure. So we really wanted to make sure that this is a successful project delivered to the highest scale. And it's quite interesting that at the port, someone already mentioned that mindset is probably one of the bigger blockers. And I think that's something that we have done and we have managed internally very, very well. So the whole project team, I'm not just meaning the Supercharge management and leadership, but literally the entire project team, all the way from designers, developers, QA, everyone understood what is it we are building. Everyone understood what is at stake here. And everyone really bought in to the challenge. And the challenge we were facing, obviously on the note of innovation, is to build something stable, modern, yet innovative within the bounds of the fixed RFP. Saskia mentioned earlier, basically code developing, and that's really the approach we took. So as I mentioned earlier, it just works. It just kind of satisfies requirements. That was not acceptable for us at any given point. Like we knew it has to be new, modern, and perfect, and obviously it had to fit very, very high aspirations. And I think with every single innovation, it does take two to tango. Like Niels and the whole BritNed team was very, very open to all our approaches. They obviously brought in the experience of, look, this is how our business work. This is what the end result has to look like. But then they just turn the table around and they were like, so Supercharge, what do you think? How would you approach this? And that kind of co-developing, that kind of building on top of each other's experience, I think really helped early on and throughout to, again, develop Empire and bring a very new and innovative product to the market.
Yeah, and I think just to add on to that, I think it's especially that was really something that made a difference also here, that we had very quickly the feeling that we were having the same goals and that we were basically finding together the way of working in multiple sessions. I mean, this was a process over a couple of weeks, but then I think the necessary confidence in each other and also the capabilities was established. And simply for the reason that we had the feeling indeed that we are not working on something just to finish it, but we are working on something to create, something really good, something that is outstanding there, and would basically be a new standard for the sector there, or for the businesses of our type. And I think we also on the BritNed side before. We did a lot of internal works before we actually got the project even really started. And then also in the whole startup phase of the project, where we really made sure that this is not being delivered just by a part of the business or a team, but actually it's delivered by the business as an entirety. And where we really took the whole organization with us, made sure that everybody has all the information about the project and regular updates, that we basically shared designs with the wider team. We had printouts hanging in the office regularly of new screens, new functionality, to simply also just have people looking at it, even over a coffee or something like that, to just eventually give us additional feedback outside the normal feedback process, which we of course also had established. So we made sure that we identified all the touch points of the business. In our case, this was the finance part, the regulatory part, and the customer and markets part. All of these departments had their individuals on the project board, where they were actually able to influence also the project and actually make sure that feedback could be given and all the information was available to them. And in that way, I think we really managed to set up a decent change management process there, and really have the whole organization working with us to actually deliver this, mitigating their own risks that they could see for their part of the business, give us feedback on time to make sure that we are actually going in the right direction also for them and their kind of requirements. And then we had basically, as another key component there, I think, managed to build a very strong project team with a sense of ownership, where people really knew that this would be something they are responsible for. They have clear own deliverables, really committed to them, where there also the expectation was clear that once this platform would go live, they would be the experts on this platform. So this is not something that you would just deliver and then walk away from. And that helped a lot. I think that's generally one of the key things, and some of the mistakes that we see sometimes, that the teams that are developing something like this would then deliver it and basically then walk away from it and not be operationally responsible for it. And in our case, we made sure that the team that is operationally responsible for the platform was also the team that was actually developing it.
Yeah.
Or at least leading the development.
And Niels, maybe building on that, right? And you mentioned sort of the different approach, and Danny also shared like their skin in the game attitude, at least, to this, right? Did you sort of feel the difference working with a young technology firm like Supercharge compared to maybe more traditional providers that you've worked with in the past?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, basically, I think the energy sector has a usual problem, at least what I can see on different platforms, that technology is kind of outdated often, especially on the IT side. A lot of platforms that are looking like they were developed 10, 15 years ago, and probably are in terms of the tech stack sometimes. And I think we really had with Supercharge a company and basically a partner that was bringing new ideas in, new technology in, basically a different perspective on it. And maybe also because Supercharge was to that time new in our field of business, basically. But that's exactly what we wanted. We wanted a fresh pair of eyes on it.
Yeah, but that's a brave decision on Britnet to choose the rookie player in this field, right? But it paid out for you. They delivered on your trust.
It absolutely paid out. Absolutely, definitely. There was a lot of critical voices on this, and there was concerns, obviously, about this, and we were very well aware of that. That we took a little bit of a higher risk than choosing one of the regular kind of competitors there.
Yep.
But it absolutely paid back, and I think it was absolutely the right decision. And Supercharge gave us the feeling from the start that we didn't make the wrong decision here, and that everybody would be developing a really good product in the end.
Right. That's great to hear. Maybe to already skip to sort of the final part of this conversation about the technology, right? We talked a bit about the project approach, the why, the how, and then how you guys delivered it, right? And how you involved the users also in the acceptance of the tool. Can you talk a bit about that, right? Because you already mentioned, Niels, how important it is that people feel ownership, and that it's not just the delivery to them be put away, but to be activated and to be actively used. How did you engage them in the testing and the QA?
Yeah, so I think there were a few steps. One of the things that we definitely see as a extremely helpful and very positive approach was that proposed by Supercharge as well, actually, that we had a midterm development milestone, which really avoided this kind of opening the curtain moment and just here it is, and now nothing can be changed anymore. It was basically, we identified a couple of core modules of the system, which was also more than a sprint. So it was actually already a system that would work and where modules would work together. So it was not like a little piece only. And that was basically presented halfway through the development phase. And we were actually able to log into the system, start using it with actual use cases, and actually see what is going well, what might still need fine-tuning. So there we, of course, had already multiple people involved, not only of the project team, but also of the wider team to actually have a first look. And then I think one of the key things really was that for the testing phase, we had not in mind that we are just testing software, but we are testing actually the business process. And we were focusing therefore mostly on that to see really simulated day-to-day operation would really run like this, with all the kind of possibilities that can happen and kind of niche cases that can happen. And that's where we again involved not only the project team, not only a few testers, but actually involved the wider business as well as our customers.
Cool. Daniel, can you share some of your experiences in that process, that very delicate process of engaging with the business users and improving the value of the system?
Absolutely. So what we wanted to do, and this again, I think goes back to the very beginning of our approach, is we wanted to approach this build not from a technological perspective in terms of what can the tech do, but basically totally from the other direction. What do the users need, all the way from a user experience and the customer experience perspective. So what we have done throughout the project is, once we have designs, we haven't just done like user testing, we've done actually a bit more deeper engagement. Britain obviously had its customer engagement group, which we joined, asked questions, and then throughout the whole user acceptance testing, which again was much deeper from this perspective. We have done basically like shadowing and other like sessions to make sure that it is not just fit to purpose, but it actually works from the wider context, because obviously BritNet's users use BritNet as one of many different platforms. So we wanted to make sure that the interaction is as quick, as seamless as possible, so it just fits into their day-to-day life and operations.
Yeah, and I think that's indeed what we mostly established through these regular customer engagement group that we formed. So we had a regular set of customers actually logging into these sessions on a bi-weekly basis, where we shared designs, where we shared ideas, where we also collected ideas. So we had a lot of functionalities actually coming back from that group to actually be implemented. And I think that actually even shows now still that worked really well, and that we opened up this project so early to the external world actually in this way, because we're having now still statements on our customer engagements basically saying it's the best platform that they're using at the moment.
That's amazing to hear. We want to be wrapping up this conversation in the next minute or so. Danny, Niels, is there anything we missed in this conversation that you really want to share before we open up for the last 5 minutes of a quick question and answer with the audience that also made it here today? Anything we missed?
I think the only thing that's maybe worth mentioning is, and Niels kind of touched on this, was the whole mid-dev milestone. So, I mean, you mentioned Supercharge being the rookie. I would say we've been around for 14 years, so we were rookie in this field specifically. And one thing we have seen with large enterprise delivery is this whole big bang method, where you go away for 14 months, and then at the end of the 14 months, you just like present, right, here's a product, now let's go into FAT, UAT. That just doesn't work. So what we have done, and again, Han brought in the POC as well. So we actually had 3 milestones. Like, we've done an initial POC, just to prove that the allocation and the nomination platform works. And then we had a mid-dev milestone. And I think that was the big moment for Niels, where I remember they came over in December, not knowing what to see, not knowing what to expect. And then after the second day of just exploratory testing, you could see a smile on his face and the confidence building. And that obviously means that by the time we got to the end of development, they have seen the platform, they played with it. We use these milestones and validation points. And again, when you're delivering something new, something innovative in a very rapid timeline, like we have built a whole Empire platform in less than 13 months, You need this kind of mid-dev milestones. You need this kind of validation points to avoid nasty surprises. Because if something comes up at UAT, it's too late. Like at that point, the game is over.
Exactly. Then we run into that typical delays and overrunning.
Exactly, and that's March, and that will just be for the detriment of the project, and we didn't want that.
Yeah.
Thanks,
And
guys.
I think maybe just to add on to that, I think that's as we just explained or just discussed, I think that was valid for the whole project. So just make sure you open up the project to the external views. Actually, don't try to hide anything until the big moment comes. It doesn't help. It will never work like that.
Skin in the game and transparency, the two key words maybe for this project. Thanks, guys, for this conversation. Stay on with your cameras, please. And I'm also inviting Han and Anne for a brief few last minutes onto the screen for some of the questions that I saw in the Q&A. Feel free to ask your final questions. I still see a lot of participants in the meeting. I'm reading two questions here in the question and answer that could be interesting, unless any other great questions still come up. There's John K, who asked the question like, what advice would you give to businesses or stakeholders looking to initiate their first smart energy project? So anybody in this panel, do you have a great advice for an aspiring entrepreneur or an aspiring partner that wants to enter the energy transition? Anybody with a warm advice, maybe? Or is this too broad of a question for you guys?
Well, I'm obviously biased, but I would say choose your partner as well.
Choose your partners well. That's beautiful. Yeah. And I think, and choose your challenge as well, right? And that was also a bit Saskia's point. For most challenges, startups have thought of solutions. Take the challenges as a starting point, and then build your solutions toward it, because we need tons of brilliant solutions to help in this field.
And maybe
Yep.
to add on to this, I think define the scope very clearly, and actually focus first on a minimum viable solution. Basically, it's very easy to get lost. So just make sure you're delivering the first kind of real benefit, and then you can build from there.
Great. Thanks, Niels and Danny. I'm looking for in more of the questions. Yeah, I also see the question of David Casas, and he's asking what's been the toughest technical challenge. That's probably about the BritNet project.
Yeah.
Danny, maybe you want to comment to that?
It's a very difficult question to answer in 1 minute. I would basically say finding a way to build on an API first platform that is scalable and performant and future proof for all the unknown challenges that BritNet is going to throw in our way. Because obviously we knew what we're building right now. We had a vague idea what might be coming down the pipe in the next 1 or 2 years, but obviously we wanted to build something which works and can be with the team for the next 5 to 10 years to come.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that's pretty much from my perspective. Well, the kind of future proofness. So the platform is actually the level of configurability there, and actually what the platform should be able to do in the future, even though the market is not there yet, or we are not yet there, but the platform is already ready for it. And I think to build all that in and consider all that was probably the biggest challenge.
That's maybe the link also to the earlier panel discussion that we had, right? Also allowing for new technical solutions to be connecting to these backbone platforms that has been built here. That interoperability is going to be a key for making the energy transition work as a whole. I realize it's 4 o'clock already, and we had a very short time to do Q&A. I answered some of the questions of the people in the audience. Thanks again to everybody. The audience, of course, for hanging in there and joining this conversation. Niels, Daniel, Anne, Han, and also Saskia, who already left. Thanks for sharing your insights with this audience. And we will share some summary to everybody who participated in the meeting. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.